early stage at Hugging Face, most companies had not even heard of what a transformer model is. So to educate them on, why this technology was going to advance and be, so kind of like widespread and needed across the board. This is obviously prior to ChatGPT and prior to those types of innovations that have happened. You had to really kind of turn the crank with people and get them to understand why this whole thing really mattered. Whereas I kind of look at the world of post ChatGPT, 3.5, when it launched to the public, right? It became much easier to adopt and much clearer in terms of what that path would be in terms of how people could implement it, because they already were doing so in their personal lives. And now they needed to just, fold it into business operations. So
I feel really fortunate, Manisha, that I came out of college right as the internet was finding its way into the business world. So I lived through that. I next lived through the transition from software into the cloud. I next lived into the transition of mobile. And now we're watching this transition to AI. And I think the shift to AI is as big as the internet coming into the business world.
That's the first part. What keeps me up night is the pace of change just only exponentially is increasing. But what is exciting is also equally that, right? Because there is just so many things we can do, but there is only 24 hours in a day for me, for my team, my product team, my marketing team. And how do you really prioritize these things to really create an impact? Because
everything's much more condensed. There's much more of a sense of urgency. I mean, this is, board level visibility across organizations. So people are typically much more keen to, get something started and faster. So yeah, I would definitely say AI has definitely played a really big impact in that, in terms of the assessments and as in terms of companies being just more open to trying new things at this juncture.
It is my opinion, Manisha, that I can't, if I'm in one of those leadership positions, a revenue leader position, I can't do my 2026 kickoff without AI. I need to be able to tell my team, this is what we are doing in AI. And so then the question is, do I know what we're doing in AI? Have I figured that out? Have I made a choice? Have I run a pilot? Do I have any emerging, do I have a point of view? If I'm standing flat footed at kickoff in 2026, 3 years after AI came out and I got nothing to say about AI, or I say we have hopes and dreams around AI, that's bad. My competition's not doing that. So this year I got to get some experimentation in place. I got to put some kind of measurement bedrock in place, the metrics we talked about earlier. And then I got to lock arms with my, if I'm the CRO, it's me plus my head of RevOps plus my CMO and maybe my head of product. And we got to go run some experiments and see which of these opportunities, is it the handoff problem? Is it the SE problem? Is it the coaching problem? Is it the transaction problem, the renewal problem? I got to take one of those on, get some emerging results, and have something to say in January of 2026. That's my opinion.
The core ingredient of finding a customer pain and matching a solution to that pain hasn't changed. No matter how many tools you have or different ways of going about selling, building a relationship and matching a customer pain to a solution that you can provide and adding value to the customer, that's the core of sales. And that hasn't changed at all, in my opinion.
It's important to realize that AI is not going to replace trust. But what it will do for sellers, and there are a lot of conversations about this now, about making sellers more efficient. It's about removing distractions that get in the way of building trust, right? So if I'm a seller and I think about okay, well, what distractions is AI going to be able to remove from my day-to-day? If my ultimate goal is building trust with a buyer, it's, automating all the prep work, summarizing the call transcripts, even drafting the follow-up emails. How long until it becomes standard operating procedure for the buyer to go to ChatGPT and say hey, tell me about this guy, Matt Green, right? And we, again, just started talking about the importance or the potential importance of sellers, again, doing right by people, earning trust across the board, building a great personal brand, not necessarily in the sense that we think of on LinkedIn and, influencers and all that kind of stuff, But I would not be surprised if it's not too far down the road where we start seeing buyers starting to research individuals that they're going to be dealing with, looking to partner with, on top of researching the vendor that they also happen to work with.
Again, a lot of our customer conversations, sometimes we get into those discussions trying to, with a template of things we need to figure out instead of really listening. And so that active listening, that natural curiosity has been such a skill for me and for some of the best sellers that I've worked with, that I've hired, that I've recruited. And I'd say right behind that is really the ability to deal with the unknown, adversity. You know, I have been in every size of company at this point, the really big ones, the MongoDBs. I've done quite a few startups now. And what I've learned is things constantly evolve, things constantly change. We really need adaptable sellers, right? That kind of look for the solutions in those problems alongside us. And so those are some of those skills that I think have been some of the most important for me to continue to mature, but also what I've seen as some of the most helpful as a seller, as a leader in this space.
From my standpoint as the seller or as the company trying to sell something, what does an AI do better than a human? AI scales better. AI has better memory than a human. AI has better precision than a human. AI covers time zones better than a human. AI can process more information kind of simultaneously and has immediate recall better than a human. AI can process transactions kind of faster than a human, like there's no kind of lag. So compute speed is better. Great. What does a human do better? A human has better empathy. A human can manage stakeholders. A human can intuit better. A human can do creative solutioning better. A human can manage emotions better. Okay, great. So now let's, from my standpoint, let's get machines doing what they do better. Let's get humans doing what they do better.
I mean, it's changed dramatically. I mean, just think about, there was a time where I think we all came to realize like the customer can do immense amounts of research to frankly understand what it is they want, who it is they can buy it from, how it is they can buy it. I mean, that was introduced into the market over the past 15 years and has frankly changed the way customers show up. But, one thing is constant, and it's selling on value. It is selling on differentiation. It is addressing what you know to be the customer's needs as defined by the customer and selling to those needs. Like that is constant.
Buyers want less scheduled meetings. They want more hands-on approach quicker. They want extremely verticalized and personalized demonstrations. So I think from a buyer perspective, you expect things to be very hyper-personalized, quick, seamless. The landscape, though, on this for buyers is challenging. It's harder than ever to buy anything. I don't know if you've bought a pair of shoes lately, but you can spend 10 hours on the internet looking at shoes. It's hard to make a decision. So the landscape is messier than ever. There's a lot of marketing challenges that I would say we've created for ourselves, and buyers are trying to navigate those.
What do you think? I mean, yeah, it's easy. Of course, I can go on Replit and I can tell Replit that create a version of DocuSign, like an app like DocuSign, it will create. But how do you see the expertise which these vendors have? Because these vendors are working with thousands of customers, right? And then also maintenance. I mean, if you have engineers who are so good at building an AI platform, why not build it in your product for something which is your core and you're selling to customers?
Oh, I totally agree. I mean, I also think like none of these solutions are production ready when you think about like what they're building, like in Replit or Lovable or stuff, or Cursor, right? In terms of like, replacing kind of the SaaS tools that they have internally. But will they get there? I mean, look how far we've come, right? Yeah. So that's the biggest question. But I do agree. There's also support. There's also other things when things go wrong. Like it's great to build, but you still need to maintain, right? And I think that's always been the build versus buy, mentality of, well, is the cost to maintain, more on us or more on them? And do I really want to start, hiring individuals, which might even cost more than the actual product itself, to maintain these systems that I'm building? So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this all unfolds.
Over the last 6 months, CROs I've been talking with, are still buying things, but they're building things in addition. And you're seeing this show up because the build could be something that's agentic. It could be a workflow. It could be an integration. It could be a full-blown application, but they're building. And that's a new muscle that CROs are exercising, because traditionally CROs went and consumed off-the-shelf packaged software and brought that into their organization. And today they're doing that in combination with building new things. Today, what I'm recognizing out there is you're seeing the word engineer creep into sales, because we're hearing about these roles like go-to-market engineer, prompt engineer, forward deployed engineer, AI builders, or AI natives. And all of them, if you look at, like, I've been paying attention to a lot of job specs, they're computer science degree people. There are people that come in and they have skill set with databases or with scripting, with specific tools, like you mentioned, Replit and Lovable. They have skill sets like that. And that's definitely a click or two to the right of what the old traditional profile of a RevOps person was. So there's definitely that creationism happening. I'm seeing that across companies worldwide. At the same time, there's also roles, back to how are we going to measure productivity, that I think are changing rapidly. I think the SDR role is one of those roles that is fast changing. I think that the SDRs that we have defined today are probably the last generation of what those SDRs will. I think there will be an SDR that sticks around, but I think it'll be vastly different. It'll be an SDR that manages agents, quite frankly. The role of customer success is quickly changing. This is an area that every company forever, for 30 years of me being in business, have wanted to say, how do we create an experience for our customers that solves their issues, answers their questions in a format they want to, right? Because, like, do I want to go online and do it in chat? Do I want to speak with somebody? Do I want to have it done over email? Like, find the format that I want to solve it in and solve it for me quickly. And I do think that compression is happening.
The sales is simply a reflection of the entire organization, whether it is pre-sales or marketing, product, and everything comes together, including HR, because people are the ambassadors of the organization, right? No matter which company you are in, large, small, clients expect consistency from everybody they talk to in a company. Not just consistency, they also want predictability in what we say and what we deliver. So, we call it as bid versus did. If we bid to do something, did we really do it? That has been consistent in whether you're regulated or non-regulated industry. Especially in smaller startups, it's very difficult because we are running every day. And I think that is where I believe we've been able to make a dent at that. In fact, with SiftHub, where it is just not about replying to an RFP or creating a set of narratives, but really think of it as the knowledge base for the organization to put things in and take things out, right? That's how we fashioned it. And it helps because now everybody can, if somebody says, for example, as a client asks a question, and if somebody queries SiftHub, we get the same answer, and I will say the same thing my sales team will say, my product team will say, my marketing team will say, my CEO will say.
I think the definition of tribal knowledge with this is also changing, because earlier, you know, anything which used to reside in, I think, Slack and even calls was supposed to be tribal knowledge because only that rep knows about it. But because now AI can make sense out of this knowledge of call recordings and notes, actually, we are seeing the definition of tribal knowledge is also changing.
Love that. Well, if we can codify tribal knowledge and make those handoffs, one of the tricks here, and we may not want to go super deep, but one of the tricks is, yes, AI knows all of it, but but I still have a challenge of how do I make that handoff simple? Like, is there a simple, in technical terms, is there a codec, like an encoding, decoding kind of, translation language that lets me get a handle on, okay, this is, in winning by design language, this is the situation. pain, impact, critical event, decision that I'm working against. That's our codec. There are other codecs. Okay, great. Now can I click into that? Now can I figure out who Manisha is? Now can I figure out what her spiced is? Like, what's her situation, pain, impact? What's this deal situation, pain, impact? What's the company
Yes.
situation, pain, impact? Okay, got it. And now can I go see the evidence of it? That is all doable with AI. It's all doable. Like, start at this level, click down, click down. We have an agent like that internally at Wendy by Design. I lean on her name is Celeste. I lean on her all the time. She's not real. She's an agent, right? I lean on her all the time to learn about like what's going on with a certain customer. And it doesn't have to go through the vagaries of human note taking.
Yeah.
And there's just undeniable market forces that are out there associated with AI. And it's so much more than hype. Like, I think of these seismic shifts that have occurred, and certainly cloud computing was the one I participated in, and it's still so relevant. And it literally changed the way that companies were able to scale and grow and build infrastructure and compete with the big guys. This is no different. And AI has a use case in every pocket of commerce, and I think that will be a big accelerant for everyone next year.